Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. As we wait for some people to trickle in here, where is everybody tuning in from? I'm in Langley, British Columbia, the west coast of Canada. I've got one of my colleagues who will be joining us. I think he's here. Yeah, Abby. Abby, I'll let him introduce himself in the comments as well. Oh, Abby, make sure you're in the comments and not private chat. There's two different versions. This is Abby's first time doing this assistance on the webinar. There we go. Toronto. Oh, another Vancouver. Dubai. Very cool. Anybody else want to share what part of the world you're in? So today's webinar is how to connect two robots together to make a two-robot system to do deep scraping. It's probably the most requested topic that people need more information on and sometimes don't quite understand the way Browse AI does it. So we will cover that today. And a bit of an intro to deep scraping, but not an intro to Browse AI in general. So hopefully you've got some knowledge because I won't be covering all the ins and outs of Browse AI in general. I do want to get to the deep scraping part. Oregon, Italy, Norway. Cool. Very cool. I will stop the music here and get into the presentation. First of all, who am I? Who is this guy that's talking to you? So my name is Nick Simard. I am on the marketing team here doing customer education at Browse AI. I've been here since August of 2023, so coming up on 2 years, which is crazy. Before that, I worked at Zapier for 7 years. Kind of touched a lot of parts of the business there. Customer champion, so in support, and then success, and then community. Kind of fell in love with automation and no-code apps, and just became very much more technical than I ever was. I have an English degree, but I learned a lot on the job there. And fun fact about Browse AI, I actually bought the lifetime deal years ago before I even knew what need I had for it. Maybe you're in that same boat where you're like, I don't know what I need this for, but it seems cool and it seems powerful. So hopefully this deep scraping webinar will show you maybe what you're trying to accomplish here, show you the power of it. So today's agenda, a few slides to explain some concepts. We'll do a live demo of deep scraping with Browse AI. And we'll do an overview of our different pricing options for anybody who might be curious, what does all this cost and what are the options for paying for it? And answer any questions you might still have. Abby will be in the comments trying to answer questions as we go, but we might still have some unanswered ones at the end that we can jump into. So a bit of an intro about Browse AI in general, just in a nutshell. Browse AI lets you extract data from any website without code. So you don't need to know any coding, no Python, none of that stuff. You can monitor websites for those changes automatically. So you set a schedule of how often you want to check for new data, and we can do it on that schedule of your choosing. You can integrate that data into your existing tools, either with our native Google Sheets and Airtable integrations, or you could use something like our Zapier, Pabbly, or Make integrations to get it into thousands and thousands of apps that they all connect to. That's just a few of the reasons why we're trusted by over 500,000 users worldwide. It's kind of an astronomical number. And we're a very flexible solution. So anybody from startup to enterprise. So maybe you're a freelancer, solopreneur, small, medium business, enterprise, large business. It runs the gamut from all sizes of business right there. So what is deep scraping? Before we get into anything more specific, what is deep scraping in general? So it helps you to gather detailed information by connecting two robots. So I mentioned that earlier. I think a lot of people don't realize that it is a two-robot system. So that's the first point. One robot collects the list of items. So there's usually some sort of list page, a category page, could be a list, could be a grid, could be products, could be people, could be properties. There's usually some page that has a list of all these things. And another robot that extracts specific details from each of those items, like single pages, the detailed page of that property or the person. And that approach will let you build a comprehensive data set across multiple pages. Oftentimes, you ultimately want the data that's on that second page, that detail page. Usually, everything that's on the list page will also be on the detail page. There might be times when you want to combine both, but usually you just want that end result, right? But how do you get that end result? How do you teach a robot, or two robots in this case, to get you that information? Here's just a few use cases. There are many more, but here are some of the more common ones. So e-commerce, product analysis. So in this case, on the left, you see what might be a typical, a grid style for a list or category page. So robot A would collect the product information from that category page, maybe names, prices, URLs, and most importantly, the link to the detail page so that robot B can visit each of those products URL detail pages to get more comprehensive information. Usually stuff like specifications or reviews, stock levels, shipping options, stuff that's not on the list page or category page. Business directory database could be another use case here. So robot A would get you business listings. So maybe from Yellow Pages or a professional association. So you would get things like the person's or business's name, maybe a few details on that page. But again, the link is almost always exists. I've never really seen too many cases where the link to the detail page doesn't exist. If there is a detail page, you get that link, and robot B uses that link to get each different business profile details from those pages. So maybe business hours or reviews is a big one, social media information, any contact information, things like that. And last one I'll give you as a potential use case, real estate is a big one, real estate market research. So robot A could scan property listing pages, oftentimes via a search or some filters. You don't want all the properties. You want them maybe in a specific city or a specific price range. And so you get those few details, the link to the detail page, and then robot B uses that link to go to those pages and get the much more detailed information about properties. So it could be specifications, amenities, agent info, photos, property history, all that stuff you can't get from the list page. So that's the few use cases of what would be on the list page and what's on the detail page. A couple of use cases. That's it for slides. Now I'm going to jump into a demo. Let me just move y'all to here and change to this. All right. So before I jump into a demo, let me show you just a couple examples of the types of things we're talking about. So this is Y Combinator. It's a website for startup companies. This would be like a detail page. So all kinds of filters here. I could search, but as you can see, there's not a ton of info, but there's a lot of different companies here. This is the detail page. Much more information here. The founders, these little blurbs, the website. You might ultimately only want the website. Like, I just want the website for these companies. You can't get it from this page, but you can get it from this page. Or any of these other things would be very useful as well. This is product hunt. This is a much more detailed list page. There's a lot more information here on just the page that shows the multiple companies. So there is more information, but if you click into just a single one of these products or companies, there's a lot more. There's all these recent launches. There's forum threads. There's alternatives. There's reviews. All these things might be what you're ultimately after. So detail page, list page. This is a website called Quoted where you can go find experts. If you want to quote an expert on a specific topic you're writing a story about, this is a list page of all these folks. You can filter by stuff on the left here. You can also do searches. And there is some information here, but when you click into a specific one of these people, there's so much more. I mean, there's all this extra information about their media and their employment, some story ideas, some stuff that they've written about, recent quotes. So you might want all of this, but you can't get it from that first page. And I'll just show you a couple more, and then we'll jump into actually how to do it. So this is a website called Public Square. They have both products and businesses, which is interesting. So within a category, you can see this, products. Maybe click into an individual product, and you get all this extra information that's not on the list page. Or you click into the businesses tab, click into a single business. There's not a whole lot on this in terms of getting info about the business. But it's a gold mine when you click in, because in the About tab, if you scroll down, you've got phone number, email, and website. So that's kind of a treasure trove right there. You could just get a list of businesses and then get all their contact info. 2-robot system, one for list, one for detail page. I'm actually going to start kind of in the reverse order than I usually would, because I think a lot of people know what they ultimately want to get. I ultimately want to get stuff from this page. So I'm going to actually build this robot first. So I'm just going to copy this URL. The important thing to note is you choose any example of the thing you're trying to scrape. Down the road, the robot will know to get the data from those similar pages. So it doesn't matter which one you train it on, but I do recommend get the best representative sample you can. So a page that has maybe more of the pieces of data you want. So active founders. This one has more than one. If ultimately I want to get probably the list of founders, I like to get examples that show me a list and not just a single one of those things. And all these fields seem to be filled in. So you'll know as you're looking through these detail pages, this one's kind of light. I don't know that I can train my robot to get everything because this page doesn't have all the things. So just a tip there. So let's copy this URL, go to Robot Studio, go to my dashboard here. I've already done it, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to build a new robot. The first page you'll get to here, extract structured data and monitor site changes. They will get you into the same flow, except monitor site changes will then immediately prompt you to create a monitor. So you can do the monitor afterwards. You're not missing out if you don't click this option. So I'm just going to extract structured data and we'll take care of the monitor afterwards. When I paste this URL, you'll see that pre-built robots are suggested down below. So if we do have a pre-built robot for the website you've pasted, we'll provide them here, and it might work perfectly for your use case. We might have set it up exactly to get what you want, but that's not the point of this webinar. It's to teach you how to do it. I don't need to log into this website, so I won't check that box. I'll start training robot, and I do recommend using Robot Studio first. It's where all recent developments happening. It is the future of Browse AI. We began with a Chrome extension. It still does exist. You can still use it, but I'll try Robot Studio first, and I'll show you the main reason in just a second here when this page loads. And when it does load, we will see it looks exactly like this page. It'll be exactly what I was just looking at. Any questions? Nothing yet. Cool. And as is often the case when I do the live demos, it doesn't load as quickly as when I'm not doing live demos. Honestly, oh, there we go. I was going to say, honestly, if it's not loading, sometimes refresh the page and it'll get it going. Okay, so here we go. So just to give you a brief look, what is this page I'm looking at here? So on the right, you'll see two options, capture text and capture screenshot. And you'll see down here, recording started. Robot records all the actions you take in order to be trained. Cool, so it's already watching what I'm doing. I'm going to first actually get the list. I'm going to get this list of founders to show you that I shouldn't capture just static text. I should do this as a list because you see list item 1, list item 2, and the box goes around the entire person, meaning when I click in here, because it's a list, it will scan each of the items and get me the data points I'm probably interested in. So name, role, profile image, LinkedIn profile. Perfect. Those are not static text. They're a list of items, and the work's done for me. So what's the maximum number of rows? I don't imagine a company will have more than 10 founders. If they do, good luck navigating that. Pagination, because I don't ever want it to go to any other pages, if they even provide it, I'll say no more items to load. And we'll just call this founders up here as the list name, and we'll click save captured list. Okay. So you might not have thought to yourself that on a detail page, you'd be getting list items. You might think the list item, the list page is where you get a list, but there's often something within a detail page that could be a list, like these founders. So now let's capture text, and just text, not from a list. When you do this, you do have to click into each piece of static text that you want. We don't yet have the ability to scan the entire page, but we'll make this quick. So I'll click on the company name. Do notice that as I move my mouse around, the box goes around different, I guess, zoom levels of data. Like I don't want this whole box. That would not be super helpful to me, but I'm gonna move my mouse a little bit, just the description. And in this box, I don't necessarily want, I could get the link. The link is something that I can get, but I don't necessarily want everything in that box. So I'm going to move a little bit. And now it's just around spring 2025. And I'll do active. Let's do visible text. And you get a little preview here, like what it's getting. Visible text looks good. I'll just do a couple of these industries. I don't need all of them. Let's do the year it was founded. And you'll see here, it's around founded and 2024. I don't want the word founded. I don't want that in there. So just ever so slight, a mouse movement will get you exactly what you need. I've already gotten batch from earlier. I'll get the team size. Let's do location and website, and let's do logo. So now when I press enter, I go through and name each of these pieces of data. Sorry, I'm a stickler for capitalization. Status, call this industry, and spelling. Industry 1, Industry 2, call this founded. I like when a website gives me a label so I don't have to come up with what that piece of data is. Location, website, and logo. Perfect. So now you'll see you get the founders. That's already done. And now we have the captured texts, name and value. So company, description, batch, all the things I just named are all right here. So let's save this captured text. If I decided I don't care about the industries, I can delete them from right here. Even after I've decided to save that data preview over here, I can delete them on the right. And if you check here, under captured texts, those are gone. Industry 1 and 2 are gone. You can also delete it from here if you wanted, but a couple places to do it. So this is the second robot, the one getting the ultimate end results details I want. I kind of like to call this, I came up with this recently as a way to remember which one is which. This is kind of like the finisher or the finalizer. It gets you the end result of what you want. This robot, Robot B. So let's just actually call it what it is. Call it Robot B, company details. So we can kind of keep track of what we're doing. So now the robot's going to run a cloud server, run the task on a cloud server. That's too fast for even to explain what was happening here. So you see 9 pieces of text, 2 list items, and this required 1 credit to get all of that data right there. So this one looks good. Robot B looks good. The run task page. So on this page right here, even if I didn't build a robot A to get all of the companies, I now have this robot that I can send to individual companies by changing this URL right here. So I could, this would still be much faster than doing all this manually. I could come here and open a second company, copy this URL, go to the run task, say, I don't want the one I just did, go to this new company. And it would go run in the cloud and get me all the same data from the other company. And I'll show you that it will get exactly the piece of data that I wanted, even though I didn't train it on this company. All those companies have a similar structure of page, which is why you only have to train it on one. So that would already be pretty good if I just did them one at a time. It would still save me a ton of time from having to copy and paste and click through a bunch of company pages. But let's do better than that. Let's get all these companies. These all have the link to the single pages I need. So let's copy this URL. And I like this page because when you click a filter, it changes the URL. Not every website does that. You could train a robot to do it, but I like when I don't have to. So let's go extract structured data from the page that gets you the list of items. And as I called Robot B the finisher or finalizer, I kind of like to call this one the feeder or funneler. This one gets you the links that you can feed or funnel into the one that gets you the final data that you want. I like alliteration also. So the F's, the feeder or funneler, and then the finisher or finalizer. So from this page, let's get first, let's get a screenshot. I haven't shown how to do that. So you can click screenshot and either do a selection, the entire page, or visible part. Entire page is obvious, it's the whole page. Visible part is what will be seen when the page loads. Selections is kind of cool because what if I want these companies? So just the section that shows the companies, you can see the box is highlighted around it. When I click this, it will now get me, well, I'll show you afterwards what that looks like. It's going to get me all that just section of the companies, which is it's kind of neat. You might want to do that. So now let's do also a capture text. I kind of like to do this sometimes. If it tells me how many results there are, why not? Let's capture that text. And let's confirm that and call that how many. And save that capture text. And now the important part, the part that's going to do all the work for us, this list of items, which I think I might have done things in the wrong order that made Robot Studio not happy. Well, guess what? I'll show you that you can refresh it. And if it works like it did last time this happened, the work I've done so far has not been wasted. Yep, still there. Capture text and screenshots. And I'll capture text from a list. There we go. So you can refresh it. You won't lose the work you've done. All right, so very easy. I just hovered over. It got the boxes. I'll click in. And this is why I recommend Robot Studio, because it does this. I don't have to go and label all those different pieces of data from the list items. So it called it YC Startup Companies. I could just call it companies if I wanted to. I can change. Oh, it's already been taken. Sorry about that. Has it now? Why has it? Okay. Want to see companies. So you can rename the list if you don't like what we suggested. You can rename these fields and delete them up here as well. So maybe I don't want the industry. I'll remove that. I want to call this, what else could I rename? I could rename this to image if I wanted to. So you can rename or remove these columns. I do want to point out this little workflow available. So what this is telling you is, hey, we've detected a link that seems to go to a single item, the single page of each of these items. It repeats and it goes to a detail page. Heads up, you could maybe build a workflow for this, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we're getting a list of items. Let's say it's 100. You have to determine the pagination. How do we get more items? If they're not all loaded, how do we get more? Well, I'm going to review this. And in this case, it said click on load more. That's actually not correct. This website is scroll down to load more. So I can reselect that. And you'll have these options. Click on next to navigate to the next page. It's a very common one. Click on load more, which is not what it was, but it's close. It's scroll down to load more. So I will select scroll down to load more. Okay, so I've got the data pieces I want here, and let's just save this captured list. And let's finish recording. Robot name is called YC Companies List. Let's just call it Robot A Companies List. Keep ourselves straight on which robot is which. So this is the feeder or funneler because it's getting the links to the pages where you truly care about the data. And that second one is the finisher or the finalizer. So this is running in the queue here, spinning up a new server on the cloud, and it's going to get all those 100 companies. Actually, there weren't even 100. I think there was 94, but I give it a max of 100. It's opening Chrome. And you can see here how many list items it's gotten. It's gotten 28 so far. 94, cool. So that's done. Got me one piece of text, which was just that, how many companies. And remember that we did the screenshot as well. So let's scroll down and check out the screenshot. It's very tall. It's very long, but check that out. That could be super handy if you wanted to capture a certain part of the screen. So let's say yes, looks good. All right, so now we've got a robot A that gets us all the links, and we can go into tables for this robot, for example, the YC companies. And check this out. So all of these company URLs, these are what we're interested in. You might be fine with just robot A. I know this webinar is about deep scraping, but this might be enough for you, and you're good. You don't even want a robot B. But you do have the link to all these detail pages, and that was the first robot we built, robot B. So how can I tie these two things together? There's a few ways. There's a more manual way, which would still save you a ton of time, which is to export this list of companies. So I export this as a CSV. A couple seconds, this will load here. And then I'll download this CSV, go to the robot that gets the details, robot B, company details. So remember how we did them one at a time here? We can instead do it in bulk. You can bulk run tasks from this run task page. I prefer to do it, and we recommend to do it via tables. It's a bit of a better experience where you import a CSV. And then you can download a sample CSV. If you wanted to, let's say you already had the URLs from somewhere else, and you just want to copy and paste into the format this robot wants. But I like exporting, importing, because it doesn't require me to do anything anywhere else. So I'll click to upload, and I'll do this one here. It's the most recent. Now, it looks like something's wrong. And the reason it looks like something is wrong is because this robot is expecting a column called origin URL. That's where this robot needs to go. Each company's page, that's the origin URL. The first robot has that same field. But in this case, it was where I trained the first robot. I don't want that, but I can change it. So I can map this from being the origin URL, which if I had done it properly, of course, that's what it would be called. But because I did export import, I just have to tell it, hey, my URLs are actually in this column. And now you can see each individual company is right there. So you can do it either way. You could download a sample CSV, clean up the data, upload. I like to do it this way. It's a little bit faster. So now let's start extracting this data. So now it's going to do what's called a bulk run. It's going to go get all these, not 100, I guess, 94 companies details. And the table will slowly start to get populated as it goes to each one. I think it usually starts at the bottom. So these are all queued. And I'll wait to just show a handful of them get going, and then I'll show you what that looks like in the history tab. Let's go to history tab, actually. So you'll see here, it's called a bulk run, and it's got the date and time that it was started. You can see how many are running, how many total there are to run, the percentage that is complete, which thus far is nothing, hasn't started running yet. You can check the details and see each and every one of the pages it's going to. So when you click into the bulk run, this looks a lot like these do. These are not bulk runs. These are just single runs. But when you click into bulk run, they look a lot like this. So when they do run and get completed, each of those will look like this. You can click into them and see everything that was done, and everything will end up in tables as well. So let's see. All right, so here we go. So 10% done. Once it starts going, it shouldn't take too long. I mean, if you've got hundreds or thousands of items, then yes, it'll take a bit. You might want to go grab a coffee, go for a walk, and come back. But I don't have to do any of this work. In the span of 20 minutes or so of explaining and walking through and slides, we've already got 94 companies details worth right here. So that's pretty cool. So we've shown how to do one at a time. If you want to train a couple robots, you can do an export import and do it a bit manually with what I just showed you. You can also now create what's called a workflow. So a workflow is how you actually connect the two robots. That's what I alluded to earlier when it said workflow available. So let's go to workflows and start one from scratch. So let's call it YC companies. The details. I like to kind of specify what the first one is and what the second one is. If you've got a lot of workflows, it's nice to know what they all are. So the starter robot, I'll call it the feeder, the funneler. Which one is going to get me the links that the second robot needs? Well, that's this one, the company's list. That's the one that gets me all the links. And you can see the output columns here. So how many? That was that static piece of text. Company name, location, description, batch, company URL. All these other fields are available here as well. And you do want to make sure that you've got the one that gets you the link to that detail page. And that's company URL in my case. So now I select robot B, which is this one. We called it robot B. Origin URL is going to be company URL. Now you've got a couple here. Industry URL is another one that it's scraped automatically for me. So if you're going to be naming things yourself, make sure you name them well. I just let the robot name it, but I know it's company URL. And founder's limit, I will leave at 10. That's fine. Let's go next. Now the final piece of a workflow is, when do I want robot B to run? That finalizer, that finisher robot that's going to go get all the details. When do I want it to run? Always. So every time robot A gets me a list of items, I always want to go get the details. Or only if robot A finds changes. So maybe I only care when something is different. If robot A finds new items, I don't really care if things change. I just want the new items. Just give me the new things. Or finally, if robot A finds new or changed items, you could combine them both. I'll say always so that if I run anything, it will work in this webinar. Perfect. Now we've got a workflow, but nothing has happened to trigger the workflow because robot A hasn't run after I built this workflow. So we've got two options. I can either go run a task, which would be fine. That's one way to do it. Or I can create a monitor. Let's first run a task. So if we go to the first robot, you'll remember this is the URL with all the companies. Let's go get a different URL. Let's maybe do a search for AI. And let's say, what else could I filter by here? Let's do maybe just America, Canada. So now I've got a different URL up here. The page format's exactly the same as it was, regardless of filters. So I can just copy this URL with different search and filters and go run a task. So what's that going to do? It's going to get me a list of 100 companies. How many are there on this page? 57. So it'll get me 57 companies. And after that runs, because I built a workflow that said, every time robot A runs and gets me a list, go to robot B and then get me all the details from that company. So that's going to take a bit of time to get going here. So while this is happening, let's go build a monitor. The monitor is on robot A because robot A is what's kickstarting everything. So when would I maybe want robot A to do this so that I'm not doing this? Let's go build a monitor. And let's say I want something even different. Maybe I want all batches. Let's say I want all batches and I want, well, let's just reset everything here. Let's take everything off. What might I want to keep an eye on, like monitor constantly? Let's do B2B in America, Canada. Let's just say I want to do that. So 1,000+ companies. So let's say I want to build a monitor for this. And the cool thing about a monitor is I don't have to make multiple robots. You notice that I use a different URL and ran the same robot. I don't need to build a robot for each of these filters. I just can build monitors. So let's create a monitor and choose when I want it to run. Probably not every day, probably maybe every week, starting today. Time of day is fine, time zone is fine. I'm going to change it from the origin URL that I trained it on. I don't want this one. I want to make a monitor for this other filtered view. Let's just say 100 companies limit. That's fine. And we'll call this, what did I call it? B2B Americas Weekly. I can be notified by email if there's a small percentage change in a captured screenshot. So that's kind of a cool option. Small, medium, major, gigantic. So if you're capturing a screenshot, maybe you want to be notified when something's changed there. I'm going to uncheck that. I don't want to be notified by email either. I've set too many of these things up and forget and get all these emails for these demos. So I don't want that. And let's save that. Let's build another monitor real quick. Let's go to this page. Let's do is hiring. Why not? Let's check out is hiring. This is now a different URL. Let's actually make it not just in this area. Let's say anywhere. Anywhere hiring for fintech. Let's do that. So that is now 145 companies. I could say, you know what, every day, I want you to come here and any time of day is fine. Check out these fintech companies that are hiring. Give me 100 of them. So daily fintech hiring. Uncheck these two and save. So as you can see, I built a robot one time, and now I can go and choose when I want a robot to go check, what page I want it to go check. Shouldn't say what page. What version of the page I trained it on do I want it to go check? Usually via searches and filters and things like that. So now this monitor will run automatically, and I don't have to touch it. When this runs, robot A will then get a list of those companies, and then robot B will automatically run. So let's go check the status of, let's go to history actually. So it's still running this one. Yep, 2 minutes ago. So this is the one I did, I believe. So let's go check this. This would have got me all these items. Let's go check out robot B, see if that did, in fact, run, a bulk run. So it tells you run through workflow. So you know that it happened via the workflow and not some other bulk run, which is the one that I imported into tables. So that worked. It worked exactly as I wanted it to. And now these two have worked because I said, start those workflows now. And so it ran one immediately. So now these two are going. So that is looking pretty good. So we've got two robots built. One gets the list of items, one gets us details. I showed you how to do it one at a time if you want to run a task for single companies. I showed you how to export and import if you want to do a bulk run that way. We built a workflow. We ran a workflow manually. We built monitors, which are now currently running workflows. I guess the last piece probably, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but the last piece is I could integrate. So maybe I want to send this data from robot B that's getting me all these company details. I might want to integrate with, I'll show you, probably Google Sheets is the one I'll show you. So enable syncing to Google Sheets. If you haven't already connected an account, it's the same as connecting your Google account to anything else. Pop-up will come and you log in. And then you're connected. I can select an existing spreadsheet. I'm going to actually create a new spreadsheet. Let's call this webinar demo YC. So I'll create a new spreadsheet. I don't want to only sync changes. I want to do everything. And I can customize the data mapping. So maybe I want to rename some of these columns or sheet names over here. I'm going to leave them as they are and just activate that. So now I've got a Google Sheets integration activated, and we give you this handy link, which I really appreciate, that I can click on to go see that spreadsheet. So nothing is here because nothing has been done after I activated this integration. Maybe I should have done that before I ran those bulk runs, but let's just do another quick one. So let's do another one here. Let's just run this on this. Doesn't really matter if we've already done it. So we'll run this task, which will then run the workflow, which will run all of the companies. And then because on robot B, this is robot B, I've integrated with Google Sheets. This will, well, there we go. It's already getting populated. That's cool. That worked faster than I expected it to. So there you go. Airtable works much the same way. You connect to Airtable, choose the base you want, and then it goes into Airtable. So if you don't want to just use tables to look at the data, you can send it elsewhere. And apparently you can analyze this data using Gemini in Google Sheets. That's pretty cool. You can even summarize this table. So it's getting even more powerful just with all the AI tools that exist in those other apps that you can integrate with. I think that's about all I've got for the demo. Yeah, let's go to Abby's going to present you a little something here on pricing. I'll bring him on and he's going to explain to you how to look at our pricing so you can work best for you.
Right, great. Mic check. Mic check. Can you hear me?
Hear you. Can't see you, but I can hear you.
Nice. Okay. I actually wanted to drop in earlier and ask you if we are recording this session because somebody in the chat they had to leave and they asked if they could.
Yeah, sorry. I should always remember to say that at the beginning. We are recording, and you'll get very shortly after this is over an email with the link to the recording of it.
Great. Lovely.
So
lovely.
Yes, yep. For anybody else who's wondering.
Right. Thank you, Nick. So everyone that's watching there, everyone that's still here, how the pricing works is that if you are someone who is looking to scrape data or has a project that is, a once-off project, you only need to do it once. Our single-use plan, the starter plan, is the best way to go. The prices are very reasonable and very practical. If you go with the annual plan, it charges you $19 a month. Which you would pay upfront for the whole year, which will come down to about $228, and it will give you about 10,000 credits all upfront. You can also decide to get this plan on monthly basis, so you don't have to pay $228 all upfront. But it turns out that the plan will be a bit costlier. It will cost you about $48 plus tax a month, and it will only give you 2,000 credits every month. So you don't get to use, the 10,000 credits that you get by subscribing to the annual plan all upfront. If you are somebody, who needs to build a business case for your business, who somebody who's trying to build some sort of automation to streamline some process at your company, at your department, or just at your job role, the professional plan is a great place to start. And the annual will get you 5,000 credits. It's $123. Oh, I think it's monthly. My bad. It's month to month, 5,000 credits with higher limits, $123.75 for approximately 50,000 rows of data. Just to drop a quick information nugget here, 10 rows of information or 10 rows of data extracted costs you 1 credit when you're using Browse AI. And this is when you are scraping or monitoring data of a normal website. Okay. There are 2 kinds of websites, normal and advanced. Some advanced websites are like, to give you an example, it might be a social media website that has a lot of security measures in place, advanced measures in place that prevents the type of scraping we do here. So that's how the credits work for us. And then the last one is the migration. So if you already have some sort of solution in place and you want to migrate, and that solution that you're using is for an extensive project or a project that has a deeper scope in general, the professional plan would be a great place to start at. But we also do consulting if you fall in this category. So before you subscribe, you might want to talk to the sales team at Browse AI. We can help you put together a custom code depending on your needs and the scope of the project. And I think that's all. Am I missing anything, Nick?
Nope, just the next slide about managed services.
Yes. So the managed solution is, as I mentioned earlier, when you're trying to you're working on a project that might be just for you or for the company that you're working for, but the project scope is bigger, where you need to share some stuff with us. Like you might be scraping data from hundreds of websites, so you might want to share what 100 websites are those, what are the data points you are trying to extract from them, what is the frequency of the data extraction, and stuff like that. So this managed solution is where we do everything for you. You don't even have to learn the product. We set up the robots, we extract the data, we post process the data, and provide you the data in the format you want and whenever you want. So this is our fully managed solution. And you can reach out to, I'm going to drop my calendar link here if anyone wants to book a time with me to understand how our fully managed solution works. And yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. Awesome, Abby. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Jen had a question that I wanted to, I guess, talk through rather than just type out. I'll put the question on the screen, actually. So Jen says, sometimes a data string contains 2 or more data points that I need to scrape, but I'm only able to select and name an element once. What approach do you recommend for this? If I'm understanding the question correctly, well, there's 2 ways to look at this. One is you can't actually get the piece of data you want, like how I showed earlier, if it was founded and then the year, and for some reason I couldn't get just the year. That is one use case where, okay, I just have to get all of it. And then later process to get just the piece I want. We are working on and will in the pretty near future release a tables feature, Browse AI tables, that lets you put some formulas to do some of that stuff. So some regex to only keep pieces of data that you want. So that's going to be very nice to do it right within Browse AI. Until that is implemented, you could use something like, honestly, AI does a pretty good job. You could export a CSV, import it, and say, in all of this, I only want this piece of data, and often it can clean that for you. Or you could do it in Google Sheets or Airtable, somewhere that lets you put some regex or formulas. If the question is about, because you say select and name an element once. The other could be you want to select something and it's the same name or it's a similar name, but you can't use that again. I would do like what I said earlier, like industry 1, industry 2, something like that. But I think it was you want maybe 2 pieces of what that box is getting you. Maybe you want founded for some reason. You want founded and the year. Same thing. You could do some regex post or AI, or Browse AI tables will soon have that feature. Let's take that question off. All right. Create some regex. Yeah. It's not an ideal situation. That's why we're working on tables, and I've used it. We have it available internally. It's quite nice. It's quite nice to, if you can't get exactly what you want, you can put in some formula in there and just get what you want. Like maybe it's square footage and it says SQFT, and I don't want the SQFT. I just want the number. You can do stuff like that. Who I need to contact if the tool is trying to load a page, it stays loading. Our support team. If you go to help.browse.ai is the easiest way to contact. In the bottom, there's like a question mark, and you can start a conversation there. All right, see if anybody else got any other questions. I'm going to scroll up. I think we've answered everything that was asked. Cool. I'll give it a bit and see if anyone else comes up with something. Can you show how one robot can be used to scrape data from different websites? Well, it can't necessarily. Well, you know what? I do have an example. It's not different websites, because you do train a specific robot for one website. So as I showed, you could do similar page on that website, like filtered searches, for example. It still looks the same, but I couldn't train it on like YC and then say, get these LinkedIn companies, because the robot doesn't know how to do that. The Google Sheet plugin. That's probably a whole webinar in itself. Yeah, I don't. There's so much about the Google Sheet plugin. We do have probably. Let me see if we have any info in the help center about it. Probably do. Chromosome, sheets. Add-on. Yeah, here we go. So here's an article about the Google Sheets add-on. It probably does deserve maybe its own webinar. It's not. We don't super maintain that add-on. To be transparent, it's not the primary focus of what we're working on at Browse AI right now. So can it be used? It can be used, just you have to train a robot on a particular website. You can't just train one robot and then go get a completely different website. I can show you real quick an example of how you might be able to get something you wouldn't expect would get you results. Just 1 second here. Okay, so here's an example of a website, Vancouver Web Summit. Maybe I've trained a robot to get these speakers. I'm interested in getting these speakers. I want to scrape their data, and I've trained the robot to do that thing. You can also then click on attendees. You're like, okay, attendees, this page looks pretty similar. If the average web designer doesn't want to repeat things over and over, so they use similar components. So in this case, I trained it on speakers, but attendees looks the same. So I could see, hey, can you also give me these attendees? But beyond that, these are the same dropdown. You might assume they look the same. Beyond that, you've got featured startups. I discovered this recently. It doesn't look identical, but it's very similar. And sure enough, that one robot trained on just one of these pages can then get me the data from each of these. So that is one example where it's not a different website, but it's worth trying out. If it's on the same website and it looks kind of similar, it might be the same structure underlying all of it. So that's an example of maybe try a robot you've already built if it's for a page that looks kind of similar. Some car importers have the same structure server. Okay, in that example, yeah, okay. It could be, you could try. If it seems like it's built by the same underlying system or the company that creates them and it looks kind of the same, the selectors might be similar enough that the robot could do it. Whoa, my camera's moving. It's worth trying. I was thinking entirely different websites. Like I can't trade it on Adidas.com and expect it to get Nike.com products because that's not going to be the same thing at all. But if it's like sub brands or one company that creates them, I would give it a shot. Do you have examples by any chance? I would love to see examples of some links so I could try it out. Maybe use it as an example in the future. If you can post those in the chat, Jen, that would be awesome. Because I don't know of any examples of something like that. Well, we did get an example in our Ask Me How session last week, which, by the way, I'll just drop it. Let's just drop that link because some of y'all might be interested. I will send an email as well, but I'll post it here. Friday, we have like an office hours, essentially, where you can pop in and ask some of these questions, get a bit more hands-on, one-on-one help with some stuff. So let me just drop that link to sign up for that. So that might be a time when we could jump into some of these examples. So here's the sign up for that for anybody who wants to do that. All right, so let's see. Cool, thanks for that example. I think I can't copy it from the chats without showing it on the screen, but that's fine. I can look into that afterwards. I'll be curious to see what they look like. Okay, so those look like they start with the same URL at least. But I see one is Volkswagen, one is Audi. Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's enough. That's enough for me to get started. I won't do it right now. I can't copy the stuff from chat and we're running a little short on time, but I'll take a look at those. Jen, if you want to show up on Friday for the office hours, that'd be great. Same time of day, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Otherwise, maybe I can use this stuff for some content or a future webinar, because that's a question that some other people might have. So we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for attending, for paying attention, for asking questions. It's awesome. that people show up, and we'll send out emails for future webinars. Keep an eye on that, and see you around. Bye.